In 2016, I was just a silly little gamer, caught up in the allure of what was sure to be the most exciting thing to happen to gaming, No Man's Sky. I took time off of work, played the game for days at launch, and maybe even pre-ordered it, but I can't remember. Because the game released in a pretty bare-bones state, my original time in the universe was much shorter than I thought it should be. Now, 10 years later, come with me as I return to No Man's Sky for 10 hours.
Begin installation.
Kinetic system online.
I'm not really sure what we want to do, but I do know that we want to survive. And I do know that we're going to see how far we can get as far as a new ship and exploring our galaxy. So we'll see what's out there.
That's true, I will survive. In order to do so, I'll look at some rocks, look at the multi-tool, mine those rocks, and use the resources from those rocks to fix the multi-tool's scanner. Then I'll give this quick explanation about my time in the game.
I know the basics of repairing things, but I'm not really sure what we do after all of this.
The this there means the tutorial, because I've never finished the tutorial even though I've played a lot of No Man's Sky. I do, however, love blowing up crystals and picking oxygen plants.
We need to get this sodium-rich plant.
Those sodium-rich plants that I sound so enthusiastic about are necessary for recharging all of our equipment. Here I am using the sodium on my hazard protection before initiating a scan that shows me the next part of the tutorial. I stopped at more sodium-rich plants to get more sodium to keep my hazard protection active, and then saw this very strange creature, which made me say,
What are you doing? What are you? What? Oh my gosh, no. No, 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 no.
that indeed was an unfriendly beast, but you can't make friends with everyone. Also, you can't make friends with the cold. As you can see, the extreme cold here froze my nose off before making me ask these questions.
Is it V? Is it B? Is it C? Is it X? It's X. X lets us recharge faster. Remember the X button, boys.
Yeah, but the X button wasn't allowing me to mine up these little yellow crystals, which took me some time to figure out and made me eventually say,
I guess we can't mine sodium nitrate until we have better laser. So we need a better laser in the near future to make sure we can get better sodium.
RIP to that hostile plant, but a better laser means more sodium. Simple.
I can see some yellow stuff over there on the hill. I think that's probably worth exploring. It's probably a whole lot of sodium.
So I did, and it was, and I said,
This is a lot of sodium. This is going to make it so we can survive so much longer, as long as all of these natives don't get angry that we're here.
it's important not to make the natives angry, peace on Earth and all of that, but it is also important to note that I thought I was playing in a hardcore survival even though I'm not. What I am doing is making my way to my ship, checking this damaged machinery, and finding some fluid.
Viscous fluids. Put those in my pocket. We've received our first batch of nanites. That seems very important.
Nanites are important. They're one of the currencies in No Man's Sky. But this ball is important too, since this is how you kick off the main quest for the game, and the main quest gets you through the tutorial. And going through the tutorial gives blueprints like the Atlas Pass I need to unlock this box, but I don't have that yet.
Rusted metal. This also seems very important.
Yeah, so in all of my time playing, it turns out rusted metal was never important. But let's check out my ship.
Still works, but is very broken.
It was very broken, but I got the recipe to fix the ship, so I got started right away.
I know we craft in our pockets, so we're gonna make some metal plates to add to the starship.
The enthusiasm.
That should get us halfway repaired. The other half is a seal of some kind, so we'll have to figure out what that means.
No big mystery here, I just need to check in with the ship.
We need hermetic seals.
To get those, I need to walk first back over to the drop pod.
Aren't we just here?
I had just been there, but checking back in with the pod gave me a planetary chart.
Planetary chart. If we click E, it plots a route. We hold E, it plots a route.
Navigational data received.
And the route is... I see something on the hill over there. There's something to our right. There was something that showed... I'm going to go over there, but there's something over here. There was a building or something, it looked like. We'll get to it, but I want to check this out first.
My distractibility is something you get used to in this playthrough, but there was no building over there, only squid.
What in the world is that?
Thermal protection falling.
We probably shouldn't be outside when it's getting colder and darker. There's stuff over there. You can see it right there. There's a crashed pod.
So I went over to the crash pod, killed one little hostile plant along the way, and opened up the crash pod and found stuff inside that made me say,
We found oxygen in there? I don't know what those are going to produce every time, but oxygen seems strange.
it was strange, but then
I didn't know there would be some storms coming in. I think I could find somewhere to take shelter. This is like navigation data. There's navigation data. Exosuit upgrades? What is happening? Where is this place we're going?
it's 400 feet away. You're
It's
lost.
400 feet away. Oh, we're gonna die. I can't even see. Oh, we're in a cave. Are we out of the snowstorm? Can we get out of the snowstorm?
Yeah, so nighttime plus the storm was too much to handle. But once I got settled into this cave, I finally stopped and realized.
We're out of the snowstorm because we fell into a cave. I guess this is better than dying.
This is in fact slightly better than dying, yes.
I feel like we should look around the inventory or the backpack here and see what we can do.
What beautiful clarity. Thankfully, I did dig around in my backpack and multi-tool and found out that I could install different upgrades once I had the required materials, so I ventured back out.
It's still wicked cold outside. We're stuck just in this cave if we want to keep our thermal protection up. Does it regenerate? It regenerates very slowly. But if we want to make it all the way to the base over there, we're going to have to figure out how to juggle this very, very little bit of protection we have and this very, very intense storm. What are these?
I'm no expert, but those are cubes, man.
Subterranean relics? We got vortex cubes. Are those... Do they show up on the scanner? They don't show up on the scanner. They just exist.
Back outside, that's enough time in the caves for you.
We've got to admit, it's quite pretty out here, even though I don't know which way we're supposed to be going anymore.
Well, to figure it out, how about you use that fancy scanner you keep using? And ignore it to do this instead.
Use exosuit upgrade chart to locate drop pod. Locate chart with your inventory. Select plot route. Drop pods can upgrade the inventory for free. I think we got 2 of those that were standing out there in the middle of the snow. So maybe we can just get a bigger backpack, a bigger inventory if we open the tap. I don't want to open it right now. We've got to get out of the cold. And our stop is still so far away.
Yeah, it was a long way away. But at this point, I thought I was in hardcore survival, so I was a lot more on edge about surviving. But I reached the base, and this happened.
Well, we found the base. I don't know if anybody's here or what we're supposed to get. It said we were supposed to get some sort of, I think it said hermetic seal for the ship.
The seal we came to this base for was in that hollow archive.
The box gave us the seal, but there's more in this base that we could look at.
I looked for more to install around the base, found a visor that I could install, and found I needed carbon nanotubes, and thankfully I do know the recipe to make those.
We need carbon to make carbon nanotubes. This
But instead of getting carbon, I came in here and found this console on the wall instead.
universal language database. We've learned the Gek word for Gek.
The Gek word was the only thing worth anything in the base, so it was back to getting carbon for the nanotubes.
I made the carbon nanotubes. Now I can add them to this scanner to make a visor. It said push F. Now we can scan things and see points of interest.
And once the scanning here started, it never really stopped. I started by scanning this little fellow and getting paid, moved on to scanning this plant and getting paid, and then scanning these little gazelle-like creatures as they ran over the hillside and getting paid for them as well. The scanning was nonstop.
It's been a long time since I've played this game in depth, and I really enjoy scanning stuff, so prepare for a whole lot of scanning content.
That explanation really undersells the amount of scanning I did on this playthrough, but instead of talking about that, here's me getting lost on the way back to the ship.
This isn't where we came from, was it? I don't think so.
Yeah, it's not. Exploring the base, I found another word in the Gex language and gave this bit of knowledge as I headed out.
I don't know a ton about the survival mode here, but I do know enough to know that those big hazardous plants will slap you in the face.
Do watch out for those slaps and check out this curious deposit.
I don't know what a curious deposit is, but with daylight coming and the planet warming up, I think we're okay to go check it out. So if this is what kills us, I am sorry, but I think it's worth checking out.
So I mined the rock before heading out and scanning wildlife along the way. After getting everything scanned, I gave this little bit of foreshadowing.
I hope we can mine whatever it is. I hadn't even thought about that, but we have a very basic mining laser, so maybe we won't even be able to mine it.
Finally, I reached the target.
This is it. This is our curious deposit. Balls.
Balls you can't have.
It requires an advanced mining laser, and I am not using an advanced mining laser.
Don't be so down, you'll find balls someday.
There are more of them. There's another curious deposit over there, closer to the ship, but still more on the planet.
See, balls galore, and instead of the ship, I found this.
Bitterite. 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 Here's a handful of bitterite. Give it to your mother. Give her the bitterite.
That's enough, you shipless loon. Back to finding stuff that's not your ship.
If you look at the top, there's a little circle that shows nearby points of interest, and one of them coming up is a knowledge stone. And I know if I need anything, I need knowledge, so we're going to swing by this real quick.
And swinging by this language stone gave me the word for the, and now I can get back to finding the ship.
Gotta scan the birds in the sky. Nobody's safe from the scanning.
And then I was able to get back to finding my ship, but instead I found this weird plant that was growing boxes, including a microprocessor and other things in weird places. But after cleaning out the plant's boxes, I got back to my ship and put the pulse engines back online. Then I explained,
The launch thruster.
the thruster is the next thing we have to repair. It takes pure ferrite and dihydrogen jelly, neither of which are a problem for someone like me to go and get. To start repairing the ship, I mined dihydrogen crystals and turned those into dihydrogen jelly in my inventory, applied that to the thrusters, and got that compartment repaired. Then I built a portable refiner where I turned ferrite into pure ferrite, and then started experimenting with other things that I could change. As seen here.
What about bulbs? Sodium. Yes, please.
While the sodium was being refined, I went ahead and repaired my ship with the pure ferrite that I had made, then collected the sodium, collected the refiner, jumped in my ship, and I've only ever used a controller to fly while playing No Man's Sky. For some reason, I thought this playthrough would be a good idea to try to use the WASD keys. So here I am trying to use them and just nosing into the planet rather than flying around. So after doing that for a couple of minutes, I went ahead and landed my ship, but then realized I was out of launch thruster fuel, and that fuel takes dihydrogen jelly and metal plates. Being out of dihydrogen, it was back onto the planet's surface to find and mine more crystals, and then use those crystals in a refiner to make more jelly. But I realized,
Oh, that takes a really long time. It's gonna take 4 minutes. Wait, stop. I thought I made this very quickly. Was that in my pocket? Am I being dumb?
yes, you're being very dumb.
Ah, I was being dumb.
We know you were being dumb, but that's okay. You're still our favorite little guy.
Oh, it's not dihydrogen jelly, it's just the resource itself. We've just wasted a lot of resources.
You did, but that's all right. The crystals are super satisfying to mine, and we can jump to the part where we have more. I went ahead and made the launch thruster fuel, which recharges our thrusters to 100%, and that's very important to note. So after being recharged to 100%, I mapped an inventory upgrade and got going.
We're going to increase our inventory.
And here's some sage physics advice I gave while upgrading my inventory.
The easiest way to move around the planet on this game is to exit the planet, fly around the planet, and jump back in.
Triangles and hypotenuses and all of that. But go ahead and ignore that incoming message. It's what I would do here.
I think I just missed a phone call.
Truly, nothing slips past me. Thankfully, I realized if I stopped accelerating, I could take the call and listen to the man who marked a spot on my map.
Somebody sent us some data that we've got to check out, but we're not going to do that until after we've cleaned out this drop pod.
Right I am. So I landed, found the drop pod, and checked what I needed to make it work. But after checking what was needed, I asked some of life's most fundamental questions.
What in the world is antimatter housing, and how do we get that to be able to rebuild this container?
The short answer is that I couldn't make antimatter housing yet, so eventually I got in my ship to move on, but instead I found this ship flying over the planet. Naturally, this led to some very expert level flying before getting closer than I ever should have thought to get. But I really didn't understand why the ship was there.
Can I land on this ship? Are these landing ports on the ship? Am I seeing landing ports on the ship?
The on-screen tip said no, I couldn't land, so I headed off to space, where I reflected.
It's always so crazy in this game to struggle to get through part of it, to get attacked, to survive, and then to look back and see how little everything you were doing actually is.
And so it goes in space as it does in life. Next, I controlled my inconsistent attention span by switching objectives.
Since we don't have antimatter housing, we're going to go ahead and follow the mysterious signal to this planet and see what we can come up with.
Great plan, given that I don't have antimatter housing and can't craft it. So I went ahead and touched down on this planet and set a record.
New planetary record for the hottest temperature. This is Mustafar.
Space game means Star Wars. You'll see I'm losing frames, so I said,
I think I'm gonna restart the game and see if I can fix the lag we're having right now. Well, I restarted the game and I changed the graphic settings and everything smoothed back out. So I don't know why it was being a problem, but I went to the recommended graphics and it seems to be working okay. So we're just gonna let it ride, and I can see things now.
incredible. Recommended settings make the game playable.
I don't remember what we were doing 10 seconds ago, but we have a mission somewhere.
The flashing light in the multi-tool was enough to make me craft the terrain manipulator, but while doing so I realized I didn't know how to make carbon nanotubes.
I guess all we had to do to make carbon nanotubes was click on craft carbon nanotubes. So that's done. Now we can manipulate terrain.
Something about restarting the game restarted my brain, but soon I was off to explore.
Rock.
That is a rock, and I'm a wise adventurer who thankfully found something else.
A submerged relic. Hopefully it's more useful than the last thing we found that we couldn't pick up.
And with that, it was time to go swimming.
I think it's not just submerged, it's
Stabilizing.
like underwater. It's under the ground? Submerged and buried?
It was both submerged and buried, but I found other things.
There are fish.
But not just one fish.
There are many fish.
And eventually, after digging underground underwater, I did find this treasure.
There's the submerged relic. That gave us oxygen. Oh, we're using reserves of oxygen of some kind.
Good to know my suit has oxygen reserves for the underwater dives.
There's some sort of ferrite sodium rock here. I haven't seen one of these before. I guess we can gather it, but hopefully it gives us a lot of sodium. That'd be a nice addition for environmental protection. No, not at all.
A shame. I'd have to find another way to get sodium for environmental protection. I did need copper though, so here's how I went about finding it.
I've scanned for it a few times. Oh, maybe that's these. Oh, it is these. Never mind.
Yeah, you should use your eyes to see things, though you may get distracted.
What's over here?
Naturally, I went that way, until a creature perplexed me.
You feed them with creature pellets, and I don't have a creature pellet. I don't know how to make a creature pellet. I cannot make a creature pellet.
Pellet monologue concluded, I use my eyes again.
This is worth 92,000 units. Holy cow. We're gonna be rich.
It would, in fact, be a long time before I was rich. And instead of thinking of the riches, I found this, meaning I had to ask.
What do you suppose this subterranean organic structure is? Gelatinous lump. Excellent.
It was excellent, and that excellence was important, because I wasn't able to get the copper, and nothing else happened until I stumbled across this rock.
What do you suppose this is? A glowing mineral? What do you suppose glowing minerals are? Oh, they're just glowing minerals. That makes more sense than anything else.
It does make sense, and so did this leaf's name.
This plant is a leafate. It's a leaf called a leafate.
An aptly named find, and thankfully the last one before finding the copper.
We found our copper. Time to collect all of it.
And collected all I did. Look at the gaping hole.
That should do it. That should be all of the copper.
I returned to the base, plopped down the processor, and started refining the newly acquired copper.
Started the copper, and I think we should go collect stuff while we wait.
With that type of efficiency in mind, I headed out to find more sodium for the hazard protection, but instead I found and properly identified this crystal.
Glowing minerals.
My scanner found an ancient data structure, prompting me to ask,
What do you suppose an ancient data structure is? There's one over there we can go get.
the heat damage I'm taking here is because I never bothered to recharge my hazard protection, but going through my inventory, I made a game-changing discovery.
So we found cobalt, and we found ferrite dust. And cobalt, I think we found on the last planet, was in stalactites in the cave. And if we combine that with the ferrite dust, we can make batteries, and batteries can power our environmental protection. So that should maybe be the easiest way to keep environmental protection. Certainly faster than just looking for salt everywhere.
I was looking for sodium, not salt, but otherwise that's a B+ explanation. Then I kept exploring until I got this milestone for setting out and walking a whole bunch. See if you can tell I'm embarrassed by the next bit.
We reached the ancient data structure, but it is a whole group of them. It is not one data structure.
These are the same things that gave me the suit upgrades earlier. I didn't know that, even commenting.
So sometimes they have navigation data, and the game said earlier that that could be used to buy upgrades for our outfit. And sometimes they have the actual upgrade maps, because that gave us 2 upgrade maps.
It did, but instead of finding those, I decided to search for these humming sacks.
Is it under us? It's a humming sack? Is that what it's pointing to? There's something yellow at the top of the radar.
Protection falling. Technology recharge.
It must be these humming sacks.
But eventually I did find them.
Sacks.
Say no more, grab those sacks.
So we can just collect a bunch of these pearls from the sacks.
Yes, and for those wondering,
That is what the yellow stuff on the radar up top is showing.
eventually concluding that
They must be valuable? The yellow always looks like it's rare or valuable stuff.
after grabbing plenty of sacks, I moved to the rest of the cave.
This is the cobalt we were talking about, where we can mine this and build batteries. So if you end up going underground and have to rebuild a battery, you can do it by mining the cobalt and grabbing some rocks, and together those can build a battery that'll let you go back onto the surface.
There you go, everyday solutions for an everyday problem. Eventually I returned to the surface, grabbed my chromatic metal, built this computer, and then claimed a base.
Claim the bait.
That computer scan, while magical, also provided me blueprints for some new items.
We've learned how to build a lot of bases, which seems like it could be helpful, but is not helping us
Thermal protection.
leave.
But I did try to build.
Build a little house, build a little home, build a little flat, build a little more. No, build over there. Yeah.
Thankfully, this episode didn't last too long as my true love for scanning nearby rocks took back over. When I did try to build again, I ran out of hazard protection and carbon.
We're out of carbon. It's going bad. Get in the ship.
Thankfully, the time I spent in the ship led to some helpful inventory management.
So we can take things out of the inventory and put them in the ship, and take things out of the ship and put them in our pocket.
No longer will the ship and the pockets be separate, and no longer will I wait to push E to process items.
And that turned into alloy metal.
With that alloy metal in my inventory, I decided to move slime and pearls from my inventory to my starship. After moving that stuff around, I returned to work on my humble shack until my computer gave me some more upgrades.
We learned how to build a construction research unit. Nanotubes and ferrite.
So it was time to refine ferrite before getting carbon into a more tubular shape to use on the projects. But using ferrite meant I had to go mining for more, so I started again vacuuming up everything near the base.
I almost shot this rock without scanning it. Can you imagine?
No rock will go undocumented, you can bet the farm on that. Just be ready to come live with me in my roofless shack when you lose. Speaking of my shack, I had misread one of the recipes.
Magnetized ferrite. How do we make magnetized ferrite?
Great question, you can figure it out.
We take pure ferrite and we make pure ferrite better.
True, but what that really means is...
We're gonna mine a lot of rocks.
So I actually mined for less than 10 seconds here before declaring.
We gotta get a better mining beam. This is taking forever.
Thankfully this one time I didn't get distracted while mining and I kept thinking about the better beam.
Maybe we can get a better beam and mine pure ferrite. Maybe we can clean it up faster, because we've seen rocks we can't mine before.
That is true. Some rocks and other resources were just too tough to harvest, but instead of focusing on that, I gathered new ferrite, took shelter in my ship, and whipped up carbon nanotubes. All of this eventually culminating in a new computer that I found interesting.
Interesting. So we can build structure by paying with the salvage data. We can save beacon, biofuel reactor. Okay, so the save beacon would let us save. We need that. And then the other ones, once we get more of the data that we got from the underground things, we can build stone, alloy, salvaged. Did I say salvaged? Salvaged? Seems like the core stuff is the best. Signal booster. That seems helpful. Just overall, this stuff is going to be very good for our base building.
Well, thanks for that slow explanation, in-game me. While good for base building, it was not good for me, as I wanted to fly, not build a base, but I did take time to make sure I liked my base's name.
I like Idha Outpost. We will call it Idha Outpost.
So with the base properly named, I went back to exploring and found this box.
This says it requires an Atlas pass, and I remember...
What I remember is that the main quest gives the Atlas pass. Instead of that, I explained this.
The portal takes sodium.
That's true. Here's a long-winded explanation. We have to build the portal to get more blueprints from the computer. Getting blueprints from the computer and building them progresses the main quest line. So in order to move forward, we build the portal. Instead, I angered the locals.
I don't know exactly what it means when they're angry. I know they can attack you. But I don't know why they would attack us. I feel like we're pretty humble.
They here is the sentry robots, and like me, sometimes they're just not in a good mood, and that's alright. I did try to build a portal here, but since I never got sodium, it wasn't able to be finished. Instead, I gave some thoughts on this rock.
Here's one of the rocks I was talking about. Pure ferrite. It says advanced mining laser required. So we're going to need a better laser to get better ferrite.
Yes, better lasers and better ferrite, so sodium wasn't priority after all. Though here is some proof that I tried to get sodium, but the game decided to say no.
No. It's in your giant rock formation thing here, buddy. I just need the salt.
Once again, I called sodium salt, and maybe that's why this planet was so hesitant to give up the goods. And once again, instead of chasing down sodium, I found another resource.
We found phosphorus. I don't think we've seen phosphorus before.
You're right, in-game me, you haven't seen phosphorus before. I love the enthusiasm, but no enthusiasm for me charging my suit with sodium.
I just used up all of the sodium we have collected over the past 5-10 minutes.
Now that is something worth saying without enthusiasm. Well done. And in beginning my search for sodium for the 300th time, I discovered this.
So the blue plants let our jetpack have a surge in power, is what it said, and we don't really run out of energy. Our jump juice is just completely off the charts. We like to see that.
I do love jumping and I do love juice, so it follows that I do love jump juice. Something else I love to see is a portal, like this one placed on the wall this side of my house for the positive feng shui, though I did realize.
We need more sodium to power this portal.
Yeah, that's not true at all. All you need to power a portal is a biofuel reactor. Since that just took metal plates and oxygen, I grabbed those pretty quickly, but I did take my sweet time spinning it around a bit before finally placing it down in my base.
I don't know how we wire these two together. Is there a wire function in here somewhere?
There is. You just don't navigate the menus so well in-game me, but you'll get there soon. But before I figured that out, I concluded this.
Surely we can just put like carbon in here or something. Yeah, just add some carbon. How do we run a wire?
Another great question easily worked out by checking the computer.
At the technology center, we'll learn how to run wiring. It said it was free. It's free. There are solar panels and batteries. Solar panels would be nice because we wouldn't have to power them. Presumably they would just have power.
All of that is important, but I was running wire at the same time I did that, eventually declaring,
We've powered a portal,
and powering that portal made me realize,
but we don't have a second portal. So we can just get here. That's all. Alright.
if you've played No Man's Sky, you know I either need to build another base and another portal, or go to a space station and use a portal there, and thankfully, the computer sent me off planet.
It says to go to the space station.
I headed up to the skies to figure out exactly what the computer wanted me to do, and eventually arrived at the space station.
Here is the space station.
It's worth noting that the whole station has been updated since I last played No Man's Sky, so getting around and chatting with the locals took a bit longer than I expected, but I did find some confusing consoles I had never seen, and eventually realized I was having no luck communicating with anyone in the station.
Nobody here understands a single word I'm saying. Well, maybe one word. Nope, not a single word on that one.
That's not exactly true, and a couple of words were understood before the tutorial stepped back in to get me out of the uncomfortable situation.
It says use the teleporter to instantly return to your base.
But check this out.
Oh, this is the exosuit upgrade. How handy.
It was handy. I grabbed it and then went on to say this.
We have 116 nanites. And the best thing he has are these S rank? What is purple? A rank. So yellow is best. Thermal protection would be nice, but it's 630. We're not even remotely close to 630, so absolutely not going to happen. Thank you.
And so it didn't happen. Not yet anyway, maybe later. But instead of taking my empty pockets and leaving, I went to a store for my multi-tool.
This says it potentially increases scan radius and the value of discovery data. And I love scanning things. So if we can afford 645 nanite clusters, we could maybe learn how to make more money. Is that a different weapon? Oh, it is. It's different stuff we can do to our weapon. Oh, is that a new weapon? That is a crazy weapon. How much is this? It just blows ours out of the... Holy cow, it's 4 million units. We have 32,000. There is no way in this universe. Thank you so much.
I shop in space just like I do in real life, just looking. No purchases, thanks. Though I do make friends better in space.
So we can learn language from these people.
Which I did, and which was immediately followed by me shopping at another store I couldn't afford. Very classy stuff. Next, I decided to keep it classy by bouncing around the space station and learn words from every single alien who would take the time to speak with me. Before earning this milestone for learning a lot of words, and before beginning to suspect.
I don't know that it matters which word we're learning. As long as we're adding to how much we know.
It's true, all words are important, including please like and subscribe. Here's how many words I'd learned at this point.
We've learned 8 words, so we've really come around on their language.
Please hold the applause for my conversational prowess, as in-game me has to talk to this fellow. He sells planetary charts, including one I purchased and pinged here. It showed up as a green icon, which I chose to follow rather than continuing to follow the red icon that indicated the main quest line. Eventually, while traveling through space, I got close to my green side quest and said,
We've arrived at the sharded moon. I don't know what a sharded moon is. We're gonna land at the observatory and figure out why somebody was calling for help.
and soon I did land on that shard. I explored nearby pods where I found some nifty wall-mounted resources and some words. Eventually I did reach the building where the call had come from. I scanned some rocks before entering, and once inside I found this little computer with a handy number puzzle.
1-1-2-1-2-2121-2121.
2121 was correct. Those great problem-solving skills led to the computer scanning the planet like this. And that scan led to a point of interest being added to my map, which surely would not further interrupt my pursuit of the main quest. But I was distracted again immediately.
It's a giant sandworm that's just plates of metal that poke out of the ground.
A very strange find. The next one happened immediately after.
There are also some sort of maybe egg sacs here? Whispering eggs. Can we take them? Biological horrors are detected. Oh my gosh. Nope. That opened up larva cores, but I think we can just leave. Let's just not linger. Hate this dine and dash, but we'll see you later. So that base gave us something off planet that we're supposed to go explore. It's an ancient ruin on, looks like the world we started on.
Soon I arrived on that planet and said this.
So here it is, the ancient ruin.
I explored the ruin, which was covered with language stones, before finding the main attraction.
And then this,
Protection.
a legacy.
The legacy stone offered to give me knowledge of the past or language, but since I have allergies and the past is covered with dust, I picked language. It's worth noting that my standing increased too, but I was caught up in the knowledge and I didn't really care. Seek first to understand and then to be understood, and then worry about your Gex standing, as they say. After that, I was back to the ship, back into space, and back to thinking out loud.
I don't know exactly what we can find at the space station, but if we can find somebody who sells antimatter, we can go ahead and get a new upgrade for our inventory.
If you bet on me for getting my inventory upgrade side quest, you can go ahead and accept defeat. It's alright, everybody makes mistakes and everybody has those days. Gandhi said that. Next, I said this.
Looks like we got something for earning maybe 100,000.
Then I wandered around the station until this fellow showed up.
Maybe this guy sells antimatter, whoever this is.
Sorry about the quiet mic there, and I'm sorry my eyes peeped the price of his ship, because it made me say,
This guy wants 21 million for his starship. That is absolutely ridiculous.
yes, I'm rich in spirit but poor in funds. Naturally, that means it was time to go shopping, and even though this longhorned fellow had oddities galore, he didn't have any antimatter, so he didn't have my business. After that, I took my business to another Gek who had just landed, and I said,
I know this is gonna make me upset, but I want to see how much he wants for his ship. Oh, it's worse actually. No, it's only 2.5 million.
yes, 2.5 million, and to no one's surprise,
He also doesn't have antimatter. I don't know where we get antimatter, but somebody's gotta have it, right?
no spoilers, but it'll be some time before it shows up. In the meantime, I flew to space.
It's gonna be much faster if we just go back into the base and take the portal down to our base down.
So I did, and here's a little clip of me jumping into a portal for the first time in this playthrough. Extremely important historical information, to be sure. After making all of that incredible history, I finally arrived back on the planet, where I said this.
We return to our base to find nothing but Mustafa.
I don't know why I thought this looked like Mustafar, but that's what the clips show. They also show I was very confused.
Why did we come back here?
I eventually realized I need to use the base computer, not the blueprint one, which allowed me to decrypt this message.
Okay, so we decrypted 16 and we've got to follow it. Reach the coordinates. Oh, they're just over there. They're just over there. Let's fly over there.
And that's exactly what I did, eventually arriving over there and finding this.
There's some sort of crashed ship, maybe? Something looks like it's hitting the ground here. It's like sank into the ground.
It had sank into the ground, so I landed, disembarked from my ship, and found this crashed pod nearby, which made me do this.
A shield module. What does that do?
Nice sniff, bro.
It was pink, and I think pink were good ones. It's worth 300 nanites. Extremely powerful.
What does it say? Extremely powerful. Upgrade to the defense system. Oh, it's already installed. It gives us health and shield. Did it say regen rate? Shield strength. The distraction paid off, but now it's time to refocus back on the target. It does appear to be a giant downed ship here. Our signal is gonna find that it's right there. Even while making this discovery, I kept my eye on the prize. Maybe we can find antimatter if it's used for like hyperspace jumping or fuel or something. Yeah, for some reason I assumed everyone was running around with antimatter in their pockets besides me, which was ironic given what I found here. Well, we've got information on a hyperdrive now. And I know... Alright, enough with the dramatic pauses, spit it out. We can buy these, and this comes from using copper in the processor. So we may just need to process a whole lot of stuff. Well, drawn out explanation aside, that is all that had to happen. Instead, I began knocking down walls and searching for abandoned cargo in the vaults of these downed ships. So once we remove the blockage, we find nanites. And radiation? What? Is that in the thing we were just in? Just blow out radiation? Why would you do that? Obviously, in the moment, I didn't know why I did that, but I can now confirm that the vault itself did expel radiation, as the next vault I went to in the same crash did the exact same thing when I opened it up. This happened a few more times across a few more vaults. It's just spewing out radiation every time we go and open up one of those. But it's giving us decent stuff, it just kind of burns us with radiation after. And so I repeated the process for some time, where I would steal, burn from the radiation, steal from another vault, burn from some more radiation, and do that over and over until I found something really special. That one had a multi-tool expansion slot. What does that mean? I mean, I imagine it means we just can expand our multi-tool? Why would we want to do that? Module can be wired into a multi-tool at a space station, granting using more space. Well, that seems like it's very useful, but for our current multi-tool, it sucks so badly it would be a waste, I would think. And I do still think that is true, though in the 10 hours I played, I never do remember getting around to expanding the multi-tool. Anyway, I did return to the space station, spent all my money on microprocessors, finally teleported back to the base where I had started everything, and upon arrival, went ahead and explained myself.
We had to warp back here because I forgot to pick this thing up.
So picking that ferrite up, I was soon on my way to find more copper, which for some reason sent me here.
I don't know why the nearest copper deposit came up as being a copper deposit.
As you can see, that entire deposit had been withdrawn, and that means, much like a check, I had to bounce. So I went back to the ship and bounced over to a different deposit, where I landed and got distracted.
I've seen this crystal a few times, this yellow one over here. I think it said it was requiring an advanced mining laser. And I think we should try to find that because I think the sodium it has is probably better for repairing our ship or our health.
Not health, but battery. You're pretty close there, champ. Keep trying. Thankfully, I did stay on task here as I headed out into the water to get the copper I needed to get going. And after mining, I tried to leave the planet, but instead, I had to explain a mistake I had made along the way.
I just used all my ferrite dust to recharge my gun to keep mining. Apparently, I need more dust to build thruster power. So in short, we stopped ourselves from flying because we were digging. Oh, hey. You can recharge your multi-tool's terrain manipulator with different substances other than ferrite. I was just too much of a goldfish brain to do so. So I was back to picking up pebbles and rocks, until eventually I bumped into this rock. There's a dangerous plant here hiding out in the rock. What a smart place to live.
It is a smart place to live. If I were a violent plant, I'd slap people from rocks. But until such a day that I am a plant, you can find me back at the refiner, turning all of the copper I made into chromatic metal. Soon, all of the copper had become chromatic metal, and I was ready to build my hyperdrive. But there was one small problem. You can see here that my ship is completely out of range, and with my cardio already done for the day, I had to come up with a different kind of solution.
I think if we go to the base here, to the space station, and come back, maybe our ship will teleport back to the base. I really don't want to go pick it up.
This worked perfectly, meaning I could buy the bit of chromatic metal I needed to build the hyperdrive, and then build the hyperdrive. With the hyperdrive done, it was finally time for an old problem to return.
So we need antimatter housing and antimatter in order to rebuild or refuel the hyperdrive. And the hyperdrive being refueled and needing antimatter means if you can get the antimatter for that, Maybe we can use the antimatter housing to get our backpack upgraded like we talked about before.
A rather long explanation, though it is good to hear that I'm still thinking about the upgrade. Then, as I was all set to leave the station, this happened.
It says I tuned my radio to find antimatter. Scan for antimatter.
So all I had to do was build a hyperdrive, then I could scan for the antimatter, compelling me to say,
There it is. All I have to do is jump over there and... Are we going back to the moon we were on before?
yes, you are, but this time you have purpose, so it's alright. All it took was landing to actually recognize the moon.
This is the moon we were on before. We weren't here very long. Hopefully whatever brings us here, the antimatter is pretty straightforward.
It was all actually pretty straightforward. All I had to do was scan, walk until I could scan some more, then scan again, continue scanning and walking, scan some more, and scan some more, until finally I had scanned enough, and I went on to say,
It says whatever antimatter thing we're looking for here is fairly close, but it's that. What is this? Gold. We found gold.
yeah, I don't know why I became a prospector from the 1800s upon seeing gold, but I did, and there's the proof. Next, I scanned the building one more time, and as I got closer, noticed...
More of those eggs that hit us last time, so we need to make sure our ship is here before we touch them.
Instead, I touched this console, pulling away a bunch of slime from the surface and pulling a blueprint for antimatter from inside of it when I was all done. Getting that completed also made this happen.
We've leveled up with the GEC. We're their client now.
And as my first action as a GEC client, I explained,
Antimatter takes condensed carbon, which is just carbon, and chromatic metal, which is copper. Together, we build that. The antimatter housing takes oxygen and dust, which is super cheap. So if we can get back to that place we found the backpack upgrade, we can build one of those.
and although I said it very quietly, I was correct. We could now make the upgrade. While on my way to make the upgrade, I reflected on the planet's sentinel activity.
The police on this planet start investigating as soon as I mined anything. I've got to mine stuff very quickly and act very casual for a long time.
Do believe me that I've kept it casual ever since, including when I casually walked back to my ship, arriving casually and casually saying,
So now that we're here, we can open the hyperdrive and drop in a warp cell, which powers 17%. It's not super expensive, but it's not the cheapest thing we've ever had to do.
true, this was more expensive than some things and less than other, a place some people call the middle. At any rate, I set back to the drop pod, landed, checked what resources I was going to need more of in order to get the pod, and then noted out loud that
The antimatter housing is going to take oxygen, and all of these rocks nearby have a little bit of oxygen.
undeniably, the universe wants me to have a larger inventory. I don't know why the next bit happened here, but
What happens if we shoot one of these? Raw steak?
yes, it is steak. The Lord gives blessings in boxes of all shapes and sizes. After that tasty snack, I dropped the first 3 components into the backpack upgrade and then went back to harvesting, explaining that
We need a processor in order to make the advanced sodium that we just saw over there. So we've got to pick up more ferrite, is it, to make metal plates?
what I'm making is a refiner, not a processor, but either way, I grabbed ferrite and oxygen and got the refiner pumping out what was needed. After refining the sodium, I acknowledged some hard reality.
So we can just carry our portable refiner. I suppose that's the portable part, isn't it? We can just carry that with us. As we find things that need refining, we can just drop it down and refine it. That's very helpful.
Carrying portable things really is helpful, so I carried things back to the inventory upgrade and said,
Carbon nanotubes are the cheapest and easiest thing to get. And with that done, we can add one more upgrade slot to our suit. Can we add it? So we can add it either any of these, which are the technology active. So if we get more shield slots, we'll probably add them more hazard protections, more life supports. We'll just add them there. But right now that's open and we're filling the inventory. So I want to just fill this out left to right, top to bottom. Top to bottom, left to right. That's how we'll do it.
after all of that unpacking, contemplation, and consideration, another issue presented itself.
The only issue right now is we have more of the star maps to use. But we don't have any way to make it very easy for ourselves. So I think if we were able to get more money, we could upgrade our mining beam and then maybe mine this sodium nitrate crystals a bit easier. And I think that would help us. So maybe if we could mark something. Tag the drop pod. If we fly back to the ship up above us, we upgrade our mining laser. Maybe we can come down, pick up a bunch of sodium nitrate. And then I am assuming all of the subsequent inventory upgrades will require the same ingredients, the same different components to fix them, which might be silly, but that's what I'm assuming. If they do require the same stuff to fix them, then we can just go ahead and upgrade our mining laser, pick up sodium nitrate very quickly. Maybe it's cheap. Maybe we could just buy the sodium nitrate. I don't know.
Obviously, I didn't know. That's why it took an hour to explain that. And when I got to the space station,
It just occurred to me that
what occurred to me is that I could sell stuff for money, but it took another hour to explain all of that, so I'll jump ahead to where I did it.
so this gun overall is so much better. It's 4.3 million. Maybe we can find a way to raise that kind of money. I know we don't have a lot of money.
It's true, we don't have a lot of money, so why in the world I went shopping is unknowable. Thankfully, I did find this shop.
There seems to be a demand feature where, depending on what's going on in the system, they're either more or less in demand. A lot of the stuff we can sell is not very in demand. I don't think that's going to make it easy to reach our goal. The gun is good. Upstairs, the gun is good. Maybe we can just buy a mining laser? Maybe they're not as expensive as I'm thinking they are.
So I took my meager funds upstairs, found an S-rank scanning module, and shopped until I said,
It's got a mining beam module for 82. It's on a discount of one nanite. That's not worth anything. I don't know. We might as well install it. I don't know if that's enough to make our gun better.
obviously I didn't understand that an advanced mining laser was a different thing than upgrading a given laser.
It adds fuel efficiency plus 2%. I don't know if that's good enough for the sodium nitrate.
It's absolutely not, but I continued my business selling items.
Anything that seems expensive is getting sold.
So I continued to sell things until I finally hopped back in my ship and went back into space, where another problem was waiting for me.
So when we left the planet, the highlighting we did on the sodium nitrate disappeared. We no longer have that mark.
Not a problem given that I couldn't mine it, but I didn't know that.
I guess we can go ahead and just use what we have.
So I used what I had and marked another drop pod location, and I don't remember if this was clear, but I'd bought some of these maps from a space station a while back, as more inventory means we could carry and sell more things. I landed on the planet with the pod, checked into the check-in point, and approached the new inventory upgrade. And though I didn't say this at the time, the pod confirmed my suspicion that all pods would be repairable with the same items, a very helpful piece of info to have. This naturally led to me placing my refiner down so it could get started working on creating sodium nitrate. After that, I checked what antimatter housing took to make. Then I went out to gather those ingredients before mining and acknowledging after some time that
Can't tell any difference with this new mining laser. I'm hoping that maybe it's just enough to let us mine the more complex things. But as far as speed goes, nothing is happening. This feels no different whatsoever. You would have thought 2% made a bigger difference.
oh, you silly little astronaut. The floating rocks had both ferrite and oxygen, meaning I had everything I needed for the antimatter housing. But as I kept mining, I eventually destroyed my own illusions about the laser.
Here's the real test. If we can mine these, our laser's good enough. It is not an advanced mining laser. That is disappointing.
Definitely disappointing in the moment, but not disappointing if you know how things work, and I clearly did not. But I do know how to collect my processed sodium nitrate and then return to the drop pod, where I can repair all of the systems to get the upgraded backpack slot, which I upgraded consistently, top to bottom, left to right approach. I then went to a nearby checkpoint where I cleared out all of the boxes because I have endlessly sticky fingers. From those I got ammo, which I assumed was going to be used in a bolt-type weapon, though I knew I didn't have one, and most importantly, I went back to my ship and, remaining on task for once, plotted the next inventory upgrade. But on my way there, this happened.
Threat detected.
Yeah, some threat had come into the system, and though now I know I was not, I thought in the moment that I was still on hardcore survival mode. So here, I gleefully said,
I think the best way to get away from a threat is going to be to run and land on another planet. It's got to get low real quick.
so I got low, but once I got low, I observed
It
that.
said in the corner that the threat level was significant, but it's worth 100,000 units if we destroy it. But I think we're going to be better off focusing on what we're doing right now with the drop pods. We need 4 million to get a better multi-tool, but we don't need to get that 4 million right now.
True, it was time to repair the drop pod, but reliably I got distracted.
Don't know what's going on over here, but something is subterranean relic.
And as I started to dig, I wondered aloud if...
Maybe it's worth the money.
And they were worth a bit of money, so I plucked them from their underground home. Then I scanned this yellow glitching separator and wondered,
What do you suppose a glitching separator is?
Great question. If you have any answers, comment below and I'll get distracted reading those comments. Eventually, though, I did climb to the surface and continued to look for oxygen.
We're looking for oxygen, but we found... Is this the glitching separator?
Just like that, I took it, as proved by the video footage.
It's in our pocket. Safe for rehousing in habitable bases. Stabilizing reality glitch. I don't know what that means, but it says it can be rehoused, so maybe we can put it in a base.
Great find, surely one of a kind.
There's another one. Maybe they're just on this kind of planet. Maybe that's what this is there multiple.
Yeah, I don't know if this was a rare planet, but the items on the planet weren't that rare.
They're just picking them up. Okay. You one? How do we know where they are? Huh.
So sometimes yellow markers were individual and sometimes clusters. At any rate, I went to the oxygen plants and then wandered away.
There's a building to our left, but our pod is over here, and I think we have enough oxygen to resolve the pod. So what I think we're going to do is we'll just go back to the pod, pick up everything we can, all of the inventory and everything, and then we'll just go check out the housing thing. They're separated.
Upgrade inventory and explore. A+ plan. Check out the achievement I got here for walking. At the refiner, I learned salt and chlorine are connected like sodium and sodium nitrate, and then I moved on to make this amazing discovery about hostile plants.
These sometimes give sodium here?
Yeah, on this planet, sometimes they give sodium. I don't know why. I'm not a botanist, so send your questions elsewhere. With the hostile sodium in my pocket, I now had everything I needed to repair the drop pod. And with all that work, I finally added another inventory slot, as you can see. I did inventory rather than suit upgrades, yet again. Then after all the upgrades were done, I returned to my ship explaining.
So that's all of the upgrade maps we've found. So now that we've got our inventory fully upgraded.
My brain just stopped working there, but my hands didn't, so I made some fuel to get to hyperspace, powered the engines, and left the planet. But out in space, I was threatened yet again by the same pirates. But I opened the galaxy map instead of acknowledging the threat, as finding another galaxy is more important than pirates.
This says hyperdrive has no fuel, but we built the hyperdrive, so maybe we have to fuel it separately.
Then I took a peek at my ship's inventory.
We need to build a warp core.
Warp cells are built with antimatter housing and warp cores, but by the time I was putting those together, this had happened.
This pirate. He's at 100,000 reward. I think we just see what he wants. Let's just go see if he can hang out. Fugitive threat level is significant, and we don't have a very good ship, but we do have spirit.
We have spirit, but what we needed was lasers. Now be warned, there's a lot of camera movement here, but please enjoy my first brush with the space combat in No Man's Sky.
Oh, he is spicy. Slamming on the brakes. Got a lot of shields. Got a lot of lasers. Not as significant of a threat as I thought it would be, maybe. 100,000, 150,000 credits. Get better standing with the Gek. Build a space pirate. Maybe now we can jump into the galaxy map and go somewhere. Maybe. Okay, so this planet looks like it's run by different people. I think that's what that white means. It says water, so the one we're on now also says water. And I think the trail there leads to this galaxy center, so we're just gonna jump.
And so I left my home and jumped, and then earned this achievement.
We got what looks like 4 out of 10 stars for earning credits.
An accredited credit accomplishment, very fancy. Next, a mysterious signal called and offered some guidance, which I quickly accepted, but seconds later, I realized.
I'm not sure. I guess we could check the space station, see if they have a different gun or different mining beam. That'd probably be better than waiting until after we land.
So instead of landing to follow the main quest, I went to the space station.
This one looks completely different than the last one. The last one was triangular, and this one's got kind of a strange, I don't know what you'd call this, cross shape.
The word I was searching for was shape. It kind of looks like a toy jack, but I am too dumbfounded to articulate that. Regardless of shape, the inside of the station was the same. This allowed me to go straight to the multi-tool store.
So the multi-tool here is rank B, but has the advanced mining laser. So this one is better. It's 3 million units. There's got to be some point where we just start printing units, because we are not making that kind of money right now.
And even though I didn't have money for the multi-tool, I had enough money to go ahead and upgrade my inventory at the space station.
That was only 35,000, so that certainly seems worth it. Our pirate paid for that.
Shout out to the post-mortem pirate, whose patronage is precisely what propelled the purchase. How pristine. Soon I was back to talking to aliens and learning useful words.
Learn the word for despair.
A great word, up there with other greats like distraction, but I wasn't distracted as I spoke with all the other aliens at the space station before going shopping and then eventually returning to my ship, where I received a set of milestones for all the things I have done. Altogether, it was a lot of accomplishments, maybe the greatest of which was getting back to the main quest after all of that.
This planet says it's rich in sodium.
Rejoice, I arrived on the planet saying,
Last time we did this, the thing we were looking for was nearby, but it wasn't exactly where we landed. So maybe if we just hover around low to the ground, we can see something that looks like a base without needing to go down and walk around.
until I found this.
There's a base there.
So I landed and gave a little disclaimer.
Don't know if that's the one we're looking for, but it is something, so we might as well just start here. That is the one we're looking for. I'm so good at space.
It's true, I've met 20 aliens. Now, here's some comments on gravity.
Gravity here is very weird. It was a lot higher of a jump.
Naturally, I picked up all the language stones before going upstairs, where there was another stone and a big blue light. It asked me if I was friend or traveler, first or last, and if I had seen the eye or if the eye had seen me. After all of these weird questions, this was the outcome.
Okay.
That excited okay was from someone who got himself a free warp cell, and still buzzing from that loot, I grabbed these eggs and went into this cave.
These stalagmites usually have cobalt.
I then scrambled back to the ship before the little bug boys could do any damage to me. Unfortunately, I looked through my inventory and didn't see anything telling me what I was supposed to do next, so apologies for the change in the color on the planet, but I took a little break here, and when I came back, the sun had changed positions. Without any goals, I went back down into a cave just to look for more resources, but found a yellow point of interest instead, prompting me to take off in that direction without hesitation. The only thing slowing me down on my walk to the ancient data structure was my brief pauses to harvest more resources, but who can blame me when the sounds are so satisfying? Eventually, after more walking, I reached my destination in all of its glory.
Oh, we've seen these before. These are the ones that gave us the map.
So I collected navigational data from the cubes before returning to my passion for scanning rocks, and then I realized something weird about the planet.
There are no plants here, so I can't make any batteries because we can't find the carbon.
No carbon means no batteries, which means a slow but certain demise. While I mulled over that, I finally came to the realization that
So if we stand still, we don't lose any of our oxygen. But moving on this planet, I don't know if it's because of the gravity or what, moving seems extremely taxing.
so few plants in a demanding environment meant oxygen was burning up quickly, and we had to get back to the ship. Once in the ship, I took off and flew directly to space, where I was prompted to open up the galaxy map again. This was going to be the continuation of the main mission.
It said to use the galaxy map to search for clues. I don't really know what a clue looks like. What is a clue? I didn't see a clue.
It's true, I was without any clues, but since the hyperdrive core we used to power the ship gave us a couple of jumps, I decided I'd open up the map and jump again to see if anything happened. And upon arrival, I got a call from Destiny.
This is why. This is what we needed.
After another series of mysterious messages, I was given the Awakening's objective.
New coordinates always mean something to do, whether or not that thing proves to be helpful or just us landing on a barren planet and trying to figure out how in the world to survive. We'll see.
We will see, but as I got closer to the planet, I noticed some strange resources were there.
Down in the bottom corner there, it says this has ancient bones, fungal mold, copper, ammonia, silver, and aggressive sentinels. And aggressive sentinels to me just sounds like it could be a problem. We're not very combat handy.
I am but a humble miner who, while entering the planet, said,
We gotta go in, find a stranger, and get out. We're not gonna hang out here with angry sentinels. We don't have good shields. We don't have good weapons.
It's true, no good shields or good weapons, but I did make this discovery.
We can scan the planet. I'm big on scanning, but then I forget to scan stuff. We scanned the planet and we found an unknown building. So we'll go here, and then we'll go down and see if this is the one.
It was not the one, and now I was further away than if I just landed in the suggested place. But do look at all these weird little surface slider guys.
This planet has radiation.
So radiation is just another environmental hazard to watch out for. Speaking of watching out for things,
So this home over here is that.
that is a robotic storefront to the galactic vending machines. Given that I had no money, I wasn't going to be doing any shopping. Instead, I found this guy.
There's a new type of dangerous plant here. It looks like a Venus flytrap, but it says it's hazardous. So I guess it's probably good to go ahead and rip it out.
So out it was ripped before I decided it would be faster to just fly back to the place I was supposed to land rather than walk. Now closer, I scanned the area and made an exciting find.
A little wormy bowl. Look at him bounce, 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 bounce. There's another one. Bounce, bounce, bounce.
A bouncy worm is a happy worm, and it was nice to see a planet in such high spirits, even if it was soaked in radiation. I headed off in the correct direction, but stumbled across a mystical point of interest.
Here we have the Gravantino balls.
Touching those balls made the sentinels very angry, and the music got so loud you couldn't hear any commentary. But I grabbed the rest and took off before this happened.
That a plant. Let me just dig a hole.
That's right, as long as I can remember in No Man's Sky, the best way to get away from sentinels is to put the planet itself between you and them, so burrow down into the earth.
Alright, so digging and standing in a corner in a tunnel is a perfectly valid way to get away.
Cowardly but valid is a balance I walk with grace. Case in point here, I'm walking gracefully back to the surface, before looking at the sentinel for too long or making it want to power me down permanently.
I didn't do anything. I just walked outside of my tunnel. I'll walk back into my tunnel. I can live in here. I don't care.
So I waited some more until the game finally told me the sentinels were again deactivated. After that, I headed out of my cave asking the sentinels,
We're gonna be cool. We're gonna be cool. Let's just be cool. They're just not gonna be cool.
it's true, they weren't going to be cool, but who can blame them? They live on a planet full of radiation and radiation storms. But as I hopped in my ship, I was being pursued, causing me to say,
Just can all relax. We'll be back.
but why wait for me to come back when the sentinels could just follow me up into the atmosphere?
Where? Leave me alone.
I used my pulse engine to jump away, which shook off the sentinels, but meant I had to go back toward the planet because I was determined to stay on mission, even though this soupy fog had set in when I returned.
I don't know if this is what we had found. If these are the right coordinates. This looks like the wrong area.
This was in fact the wrong area, and I had to burrow back underground just to survive the storm, until, finally,
Storm's gone, so we're gonna head back outside.
outside saw me scanning and climbing back into the ship, hopping to another location and scanning there for whatever it was we were supposed to be finding. After much more scanning, this finally happened.
Whatever it is, it's only 100 meters off in this direction, so hopefully we can just run.
I only mentioned running here because of the sentinels. Thankfully, I found my target soon.
There it is. I assume this is what it is. Broken crash ship. Yep, that's it.
That was it, but as I got closer and eventually popped the capsule open, there was another problem.
We're out of sodium. We're always out of sodium.
And so without sodium, another walk was in order, and on that walk I found more expensive balls.
Oh no, not those again. Last time we touched those, everyone and their mother tried to kill us.
So no more balls for me. Instead, I shot this plant and grabbed some more sodium, leading to this unexpected outcome.
Seriously? I'm getting chased because I picked a sodium plant? You guys need to relax. It's just plant. It's just picking. I'm just picking apples that are growing over the fence here.
But those fence plants were angering the sentinels, making me ask,
Why is it playing jazz music? Why is my demise being played by jazz music?
as a general jazz enjoyer, I wasn't enjoying all the violence this jazz came with. But finally, I got back to the point of interest with the sodium, noticing a crash pod I had missed before.
Radiation protection module 1 from that. Oh my gosh. Can I install that right now?
Note the module is S rank, the best.
Yes, I can. Does that slow down this radiation destroying me? There's your thing.
Like everything else, this wanted to dump a whole bunch more lore, with the most important bit at the end.
It said an advanced mining beam. Okay, great. I can't. Can I get this ship? It's a class B. It requires a lot of fixing. This isn't terrible. Gold, platinum, I don't know.
The chaos of being hunted down while trying to figure out my upgrades was starting to get to me, so I burrowed underground and waited a bit before looking at my new beam.
Where? What does this advanced mining beam need? Carbon nanotubes and a wiring loom. We don't... I don't know where we get a wiring loom.
I just have to buy the loom, not a big deal.
Carbon nanotubes we can make with carbon, but we're low on carbon. We'll have to go out and find a plant.
Back to plant picking.
The other we'll just have to find or buy, I guess.
Back to the surface and making this mistake.
Ship requires a lot. Probably worth a lot. Certainly worth more than what we've got now.
So here's the mistake. I marked the ship thinking I could come back later instead of making it one of my primary or secondary ships.
Shoot me, I'm just going. I'm leaving. I'm leaving.
I shot at plants as I went, so when I got back to my ship, I was ready to build the carbon nanotubes necessary for the advanced mining laser to be completed. So here I had everything besides the wiring loom, but the game helped.
It says purchase wiring loom from a space station terminal.
As I headed out for the station, I noticed the mistake I had made.
Can I mark that ship that I just found somehow? Forever and ever?
I could not mark it forever and ever, or at all actually, so eventually I
Did I
said,
mark it? Where did it go? Oh, jeez. Alright. Well, Nuts.
Nuts indeed. What else could be said in a situation like this? Once off planet, I struggled with the pursuing
I
sentinels.
don't really want to kill these guys. I feel like if I kill them, more will show up maybe.
While that seemed like a safe bet, they continued their pursuit, eventually leaving me with no choice.
We got a brain.
I got a brain and a bigger problem.
Shield down.
No time to recharge, baby. We're going for gold. Give me another brain. Oh, pugnium. Okay, pugnium was a required ingredient on the repair of the other thing. Who's calling me? This guy. Okay, it's more of the quest.
The quest brought me the anomaly, which in hindsight I should have prioritized.
He's invited me to come onto this, which is a different space station.
The anomaly is different. I did wonder aloud.
Maybe they'll have wiring looms here.
So I entered, landed, and then disclosed everything I knew about this place.
So I know this is like the multiplayer hub. I don't know much else. I don't know if it's been changed, but I know that's what this was or is.
And with that, I began socializing immediately, until eventually I found the man who had called me just minutes ago.
So this is Nada. Nada and Polo work together at the space station here, the anomaly.
Just two bros working at a space station. The dream, really. Here's Polo.
We're supposed to talk with Polo. There's Polo. Oh, we love Polo. Polo's a gek.
It's true, and while he does appear to be Gek, the anomaly uses a different language, so we always understood him, which I explained.
So the travelers on the anomaly are different than space station. These are like higher beings with Groot here.
This fellow, not Groot, had a request.
So if we farm data, we have been, they'll give us nanites. And nanites obviously are used to buy things.
Yes, that all made sense. This made sense too.
They've got technology blueprints over here. So much like a regular space station, this is exosuit stuff. Much like the regular one, but different. What is this? Nanite clusters. So we can buy them here with nanite clusters, but these look like permanent upgrades.
So the advanced mining laser is an advancement that can be upgraded. Other advancements are sold at the shop, like the items here.
Automatic language parser. So that would allow us to learn language better, faster, better jetpacks, better oxygen, etc. Is this an upgrade station? Yes, it is.
So the anomaly had inventory upgrades, permanent installable advancements, as well as this.
These are the base parts that we get from salvage data. So these are all the save beacons, my goodness, harvesters, health stations, light boxes.
Lots to build, and after shopping, I did wonder.
But if they have these, maybe they have a tool? Aha. Oh. That's a bad tool. It has slightly higher damage potential than ours. Ours has the advanced mining laser that's currently being worked on. Yeah, we're not buying that. But he has multi-tool research, so maybe it's like the other guys where it's pretty significant. Ah, it is. Look at this. It's upgrades to the scope, multi-tool upgrades. Oh, faster scanner, which we talked about. The mining laser. We can build. We're building one right now, but you can get those. Fishing rig. Fishing. Multi-tool weapon systems. Explosive energy. Very nice. We'll have a lot of options here. Cloaking device.
Lots of options indeed. And after shopping, I returned to Nana.
I think we need help with exploration. I don't know if you'll give us a map. Locate a black hole.
So a black hole was now on my to-do list, but I did remember.
We need wiring loops. Is there just a merchant here somewhere? Just a guy with stuff?
There was not, but there was this.
We can come in here and cook our steak. We can make meat. What about adding some salt? No.
So the game has a robust recipe system, and this guy who made this
We
happen.
gave them the milestone data and we got 750 nanites. That is a crazy amount of currency.
It was indeed crazy, but not as crazy as the guy I talked to next.
So he just critiques your food and tells you suck at making food.
After talking to that crazy fellow, I shopped some more and said,
Oh, we can just learn to make stuff with the nanites we got. Can we learn to make wiring looms? Valuable product. Wiring loom. If we can learn to make it, I guess we can learn to make the microprocessor. There's the Atlas Pass. We keep finding things that require that to open. So maybe we should make that, but I don't see any wiring loom in here.
Before I hurt myself by thinking too hard, I'll go ahead and tell you I just need to follow the guide and buy the looms. But I went to another shop and got this.
Personal refiner. Oh, that allows us to refine stuff as we go. That seems huge. Instead of just having to make it at the portable refiner, we can just build one in our backpack. That seems huge.
You can tell it's a big deal because I said it twice before purchasing this.
I think the basic translator is probably helpful, though. If we can get through conversations, maybe we can trade and talk better.
Soon was back to searching for a merchant leading me here.
Is this the wiring loom? This gives us quicksilver and piles of nanites, but none of the hunt dangerous pirates. Wow. None of this seems like what we should be doing. Raiding planetary depots does not seem like the kind of stuff we should be up to.
And so having checked everywhere, I left. But once I was back in space, I got another call.
So we found another signal that's going to send us probably to another place. Find a way to boost the signal. Yep.
The non-stop phone calls and updates to objectives was starting to feel more like a hurdle than helpful, but I pressed on, killed a pirate, and then moved on to a space station. While there, I went shopping, finally bought some wiring looms, and finished upgrading my multi-tool, but then, while selling more items, I noticed something strange in my inventory.
What do you suppose a suspicious packet is? I didn't know we had a suspicious packet. Farms. Oh, you can open it. Oh, it's a cannon module that's... What did it say? It's X rank, a black market modification. So it's kind of a random roll. It's unstable. That's interesting.
So the packets I got from taking out the pirates had resulted in a nice upgrade. I jumped back in my ship and headed down to the surface, but we'll have to ask you to forgive me here as I lost some footage. I did upgrade to an A rank multi-tool with an S rank scanner during that footage, meaning I was getting more money per scan, a very lucrative change. While bouncing around and exploring that planet, I found Yoda's house.
What do you suppose this is? I've never seen a house like this.
Yeah, there's not much else to say about that small house. What could be said is that fauna scans now gave around 5,000 credits, and rocks gave 15. And as I scanned, I said,
It says we've discovered 7 of 9 creatures. Maybe we should just make it our goal to discover all 9 on the planet. I don't see any around, but maybe there's water somewhere. If we get all 9, I don't know what happens, but it says 7 of 9.
7 of 9, 10-year-old me would be very excited. But what is also exciting was that this portable refiner that I now carried on my back continued to process slime, turning it into nanites. As I walked and processed, I found another hut and scanned this bush for 20,000 units, which turned out to be the longest living plant I'd ever seen.
That flora was the longest living one we've ever seen.
Old and finally useful as carbon. Next, I made this observation as I mined some sodium.
It's funny that the one planet that doesn't have a huge environmental concern, there's not constantly the need to recharge our systems, our hazard systems, is also the one with the biggest abundance of salt.
Again, not salt, sodium, but I realized that a moment later.
Sodium, not salt. Sodium.
And after those scans, I had everything cataloged.
All right, we discovered everything on the planet. It says news, and it showed a check mark, and that's it. What do we do with that? Is that a thing? Catalog, maybe? Discoveries, maybe? Oh, here we go. What's it do? Oh, we get a bonus for uploading. Upload it to register.
Bonus nanites for planet completion. Classic zoologist.
We can rename them and upload them. But if we discover everything on a planet... Oh! Well, look at that. We got a Steam achievement.
That Steam achievement made me check out what it would take to 100% this game. Go ahead and like or comment and let me know if that's something you'd like to see. Up next, I got this naturalist achievement and then gave this update on how the main quest was going.
All right, we've got our warp cell. So all we have to do is head back to the ship. And from the ship, we should be able to just go to the other galaxy, complete our scanning mission, and then we should get paid.
With that, I jumped into my ship and left this planet behind, selecting the nearby galaxy where the signal we were chasing was coming from and hopping right on over there. I arrived in the Afklar Talek system with this piece of insight.
We've arrived in a new system.
Proclaiming my arrival was true and good, so why say more about that, especially given that we had this signal to follow, and I had to pause briefly outside of the planet to pick up fuel for my ship before dropping another scan as I got closer.
This is a super critical planet. So whatever's happening here is very important.
What I said there is that it was important, and it was, just like every other planet, so I touched down, hopped out, and was confused immediately.
Are we just supposed to scan everything here? Is there something specific?
Naturally, on a new planet, I started scanning everything until eventually I noticed this.
It says scan unique minerals, 1 of 3. So we just have to find 3 unique minerals and we'll get paid.
So I scanned another, and then said,
Well, freaking da. That was it.
Ta-da indeed. Check out this groovy milestone I got for all my lucrative scanning.
We've earned, is that a total of 751,000 credits? Oh, we have 800,000 credits right now. What you get when everything you scan is the most interesting thing in the world to everyone.
It's true, it's all very interesting, everyone agrees. Also, check out this abandoned building I found.
Oh, it's an actual space station. This is great. Hopefully our ship can be summoned to it, but either way, this is great to find. It looks like a trading outpost or something.
So I stopped there instead of following my objectives, tried to summon my ship, and found out it required more fuel than the little guy had, meaning my walk had at least doubled in length. But I found and analyzed this computer and was given carbon and nanites for my time, before going back outside and grabbing some larval cores from the nearby eggs and shooting the demons that came out of said eggs. I grabbed a few of those before deciding it was ready to move along, and then, finally, after much walking and mining, I reached my ship where I skipped this journey milestone with reckless abandon. I jumped back in my ship, headed up to the space station, found a freighter along the way, bought it, added a room to it, and then piled up my stuff in it. But again, I have to give you this in audiobook form as I lost another file here. And after all of that, on the space station, I jumped into the portal, returned back to my original planet, which was ugly, but I came here because...
It says there's something in the base computer here, so I'm not sure what it's going to come up with. There's some sort of coordinates that it's providing. Interstellar coordinates.
But those coordinates weren't very exact, so I went to the galaxy map and asked...
What is that?
That's the Under the Rebels Star Quest, something I wouldn't have any time to get to, but seeing it made me want to complete other things on my to-do list, namely exploring the galaxy. So I raced off to do that without any self-awareness, and then this fleet of freighters popped up.
These ones that just warped in are a lot bigger than everything else. Maybe they're better than the others?
So I contemplated buying the ships, but then I said,
We can afford them, but no.
Next I stopped in this freighter, checking if it was better than mine, and said,
It's another kind of middle-of-the-road one. And I don't want to build a fleet of middle-of-the-road ships, but... Oh, it's exchanged. You can only have one freighter. We can't add a freighter to the fleet. We add the other ones, the frigates, to the fleet. Okay, well, it's all making sense. Well, then we're going to have to replace the freighter. So we could go buy... Oh, hello. We could buy the frigates in the meantime.
A long but good explanation on the freighter system. Instead of all that, I looked at this ship's price and said,
Every time we pull up a ship like this, it's ridiculously priced. This one's a Class B, so the next step up above ours. And he wants 10 mil to buy it, or 7 mil to exchange for it. And I know we haven't been playing the game the longest, but we're still down on our little Class C ship. Maybe we've done something wrong.
It is possible, as I do make mistakes, but the next choice wasn't a mistake, as I left the freighter to discover there were pirates outside, intended to engage, but this happened.
We're going to kill a pirate, and this guy just stopped us to ask if we want to buy his ship.
Audacity or generosity, I did buy the ship.
There you go. Purchased.
I then pursued a pirate with a very strange name, showing off I knew how to shoot them with lasers and then hit them with missiles which would destroy their ships. I then got another call, which led to me buying another frigate.
All there is to it.
And it was, so I returned to my side quest, and then enacted this plan.
I want to map one of these distress observatory things, and maybe hopefully it'll be on this planet and not some other. It's on a different planet.
And without hesitation, I rocketed off towards the planet where my upgrade was to be, another point for the short attention span. I eventually did get to the planet, touched down at the base, and promptly ignored the base to search for other wonderful things like this damaged pod that gave me nothing in particular. After which I bumbled about for another 5 minutes before deciding to explore the base I had landed at, where, thanks to my knowledge of the language, I could speak a little Gek to this Gek, resulting in this excellent trade.
Okay, so we've traded them dirt? They give us dirt?
That's right, in space, good old-fashioned loam is a valuable thing. Next I checked out the terminal in this building, which gave me a simple puzzle to solve, scanned the area, and marked to the purple location. As purple meant language, there would probably be more language stones there, and that's very exciting for me.
Alright, well, we'll go there next, I guess. But for right now... V2? Do we have V2?
So I tried to explore the rest of the base, but realized the V2 Atlas pass took cadmium, not activated cadmium, so I didn't have it. I ventured back outside, found more damaged machinery, and walked away with a massive upgrade.
It has an S-rank toxic protection module. We don't have the inventory for it, so I guess now we need to go find an inventory upgrade to be able to upgrade our inventory to hold the new module we found at the coordinates on the map.
What a perfect encapsulation of the No Man's Sky loop I was in. Get an upgrade, then go get stuff to get another upgrade, get distracted, accidentally find upgrades, return to the ship like I did here, and keep running the loop. Then I found this pirate who caused me to say,
Now this threat level is elite, and this guy is worth, Loot Gaklog is worth almost a half a mil. So we're gonna hang out with that guy. There he is. There's only one of them. Only the one.
and so it was only the one pirate who showed up. Although elite, he was no match for my finely tuned shoot with laser then hit with missile switch trick, which I did here. After taking him out, I said,
Yeah, so elite's still just not good enough to beat us.
and that's true. It's also true that I was now a troublemaker, as seen by this achievement, and then I landed at the pod, repaired the system, and added a new slot to my suit, rather than my inventory this time, where I immediately added the module to enhance my toxicity resistance, and then, when I finally got back into space, I said this.
Okay, so instead of going to the planet, the ice planet that we were trying to get to, that ancient ruins or whatever is taking us further. So we're going to keep going to Gene Prime. We're going to land on Gene Prime. We're going to properly discover Gene Prime, and then we'll go about finding this ancient ruin.
So I hustled to Gene Prime, landed on the planet's icy surface, and began scanning everything, including these very strange sky balls.
Look at those little flying balls up there.
While scanning, I saw this base in the distance, so I marked it and headed that direction, but when I got there, it was just a save point that had spawned like this.
Is this in the ground? This looks like it's in the ground.
It was. What a cool base. A shame no one else will ever see it. But to celebrate finding the base, I charted yet another inventory upgrade and explored just a bit before heading back to my ship to track down the upgrade. I went into space where I realized the pod was on the same planet, though further away, so I headed back out into space, came back and landed closer to the pod, went about a long-winded explanation about inventory efficiency that I will spare you, and then eventually reached this conclusion.
So I think we're going to just keep going with our actual inventory.
So the inventory was upgraded, very helpful. I then had this insight while mining trees.
Sometimes the hardest part of scanning these planets is that you can't tell the difference between a small rock and a tiny pebble.
I am no expert, so when my eyes see a small rock, it does sometimes look like a little stone. Next, I charted another inventory upgrade, decided I would rather stop at more language stones than follow the upgrade, and found these rocks.
Little avocado rocks have already been scanned.
My peaceful saunter about and scanning was interrupted suddenly when this happened.
I'm just getting hit on the ground. I'm just on the ground getting shot. What's I supposed to do about that?
I returned fire, but it was pointless as my guns were too small and the ships were flying too high. Thus, it was time for the time-tested method of running back to where you keep the bigger guns. So I ran to my ship, but by the time I was airborne, this happened.
Whoever attacked us did not linger long enough for us to be able to counterattack. They just attacked us and then took off.
So I took off, once again heading for the inventory upgrade and touched down at the upgrade pod.
We landed at the pod. It's right up our nose.
I then went about making the usual repairs before adding another spot in my inventory and then going back to mining the planet's precious resources. Sometimes you just have to see those particle effects. But I had to stop off in space to shoot a tritium-rich asteroid to keep those fuel supplies tippy-topped off, and while in space, was notified that I was subject to a pirate scan before saying this.
Hostile ships approaching.
It says they scanned us and found valuable cargo, and it showed a picture of our pirate scanner. I'm not exactly sure what the pirate scanner does. We need to take a look at it, but all I know is it seems to be causing more problems than it's worth. We've got them filling up our inventory. We're getting scanned from subspace for them.
Both of these observations are correct, and in knowing this, all I did was use the cargo to lure more pirates to their demise. Here I am doing it again and again, sending more pirates to Space Valhalla before landing, making the usual repairs, choosing to upgrade my inventory rather than suit, and then without any other goal, checking to see what was left to catalog on this planet.
7 minerals? 7 minerals? I feel like we've scanned a lot of minerals. Is it you? Is it you? Is it you? Is it you?
It was none of them, and as that was not giving me instant gratification, I chose to leave instead of continuing the search, which naturally meant I had to find another drop pod, repair it, and use that new slot to expand my bottomless inventory before noticing this suspicious module.
Well, we should have done that earlier, but now we have a suspicious module that we could put on our backpack if our backpack had more room. So now we just have it.
So that module had come from the pirates I had taken out, and I could have placed it on my suit had I noticed it earlier. I walked around a bit more, and then mapped what turned out to be a distress beacon.
Distress beacon always seems good. To me, that says we might find a downed ship. So there's a chance, there's another hostile scan. There's a chance getting to this distress beacon will mean we can maybe get a better ship. But unfortunately,
Yeah, you can't go fast when pirates are in pursuit.
gotta deal with more pirate cargo. I don't know what we're supposed to do with this. It says possession. I don't know, it makes it sound like we might dump it at a pirate space station. We found those before. The outlaw station.
I mean, if they keep fishing up pirates, though, it's kind of paying well. As long as we can keep killing them.
As I've said before, self-defense is a very lucrative business, and after that bit of space piracy, I had this pearl of wisdom to share.
Maybe it's the pirates who should be dropping a distress beacon for us. Get some help.
It would work out better for everyone that way. If the pirates called other pirates to help the pirates from us, we could exterminate more pirates and get richer. But speaking of calling for help, we arrived at the distress beacon and noticed...
It is a crashed ship, so there's a chance it's worth something. Whether or not we can afford to repair it is a whole separate question.
And a question I answered rather quickly.
Alright, this crashed ship it's rank B. It's just completely broken. So in order to get it off the planet, well, these are inventory slots that I know if we add the materials, we get the slots back, right? But these are ship slots that we might need to get off the planet. So we need at least this. I think we should claim it, right? We can at least sell it.
And so that was how I got my second ship. Very small, very damaged, but a second ship nevertheless. I worked out that you could swap ships on the fly, meaning I could fly the flyable one and then work on the damaged one when possible. I then noticed and opened this little beacon, which led to this.
I guess we should search the ship tech. Okay, that's helpful. We can add those to starships. But I think right now, if we get off this planet, I don't know if the pulse drive was fixed. Yes, okay, good. All we need to do is get to the space station and we can start buying the stuff we need to fix the ship. What we really don't need is to have some sort of awful, tragic pirate show up, throw off everything we're working on to get better.
Thankfully, no pirates showed up, meaning no issues, except for this one, where I flew through the wall of the space station, where I showed up and went shopping.
The high energy shield, it sells for 750,000, which just seems wild. We also need to sell off these pearls. That'll give us room to buy chromatic metal. And all of that together should give us space to fix our ship.
With the shopping done, I went about fixing my ship, repairing everything I could. But just like real life, halfway through finishing a recipe, I had to stop and go
We
shopping.
need at least 6 wiring looms.
With that money spent, it was back to repairing my ship. While this was going on, I made sure my backpack refiner kept turning slime into nanites, and then after fixing a couple of things, realized I'd effectively used up all of my gold, meaning my shopping list was now gold and dioxide. Rather than getting bogged down with that, I returned to speaking with the locals, which resulted in learning more language, and...
Our other goal is to just give away all of these Gek relics until we've mastered the Gek. We just want them to really like us. So we'll pawn off all these relics.
No pawning for me, thanks. Just pure generosity. Take the relic and love me. I got confused by the Gek buying fossils, and then, because I thought the Gek liked me, I checked in with the Merchants Guild.
We're still not high enough with the Merchants Guild for this guy to give us anything. Can we donate to the guild? No. Exosuit expansion unit. Must be like an item you find that you just plug in rather than having to go find the crash pods.
That is a wonderful sounding item, but I never found one in my time. Instead, I went back to learning the language of both the Korvax and the Geks, and although I don't have a Rosetta Stone subscription, a space station works basically just as well.
Remember to buy your friends.
Yes, I said that after I had handed over a Gek's relic to the Gek, currying me some favor. Then I went back to my ship and planned my next steps.
Alright, we've got to head to a planet where we can find gold and dioxide, and I'm not sure if our log shows us what planets can do that. It does. There's copper there. Are those the same? Phosphorus, silver, copper. I guess there's just not a lot of gold here. Copper, gold, magnetized. I guess we go to one of these two. They're both cold, so cold must be where we get dioxide.
It was. However, I decided to go get gold first as the planet was closer, so I landed on the small moon I had been on and gathered some gold near where I landed before realizing this.
We were going to come down here to get gold, to finish everything out, to repair the ship. But we're done. We've run out of time. The ship didn't get fixed. As far as I know, we could have done a lot more. We got some gold, but we don't have chromatic metal. I just didn't get far enough with everything. So overall, a lot of progress, but just not enough. And there's still a lot out there in the universe to see.
It's true, there is a lot to see out there, but that's all for this 10-hour run. If you liked what I'm doing here, please let me know, like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.